A dangerous escalation. Iran launches missiles at Israel. Tensions in the Middle East reached a boiling point on October 1, 2024, as Iran launched a barrage of ballistic missiles towards Israel. The attack, involving nearly 200 missiles, marked a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict between the two nations. It signaled a dangerous new phase in their hostile relationship. Iran's missile attack was not unprovoked. It came in retaliation for Israel's recent strikes against key figures in Hezbollah and Hamas. These organizations are supported by Iran. The attacks were a clear message from Tehran. Iran is willing to use force to defend its interests and allies in the region. The world watched with bated breath as the missiles crossed the sky. This attack was not just about military strength, it was a symbolic challenge to Israel's security and a test of the international community's resolve. The big question on everyone's mind was, how would Israel respond, and what would that response mean for the already volatile Middle East? The aftermath, assessing the damage and the US response. The Iranian missile attack caused significant damage to private property in Israel. Early estimates placed the cost between $40 million and $53 million. This makes it the most expensive attack since the conflict escalated a year ago. The Israel Tax Authority reported over 2,500 claims for damages. Most of these claims came from businesses and apartment owners near Tel Aviv. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, was quick to respond. President Biden ordered the deployment of the THAAD anti-missile system to Israel. The THAAD, known for its advanced capabilities, was meant to strengthen Israel's air defenses. It was also a clear signal to Iran the US would stand by Israel. Alongside the military support, President Biden also urged restraint. He called for a measured response from Israel to avoid further inflaming the situation. The world was on a precipice, and a single misstep could have ignited a larger conflict. Israel's retaliation, potential targets and strategies. In the wake of the attack, all eyes turned to Israel, anticipating its retaliation. Israel, known for its swift and decisive military actions, vowed a strong response. The nation's leaders promised that their reaction would be deadly, precise, and above all, surprising. This declaration sent a chill down the spines of many, both in Iran and around the world. Speculation arose regarding Israel's potential targets. Some military analysts predicted strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. These facilities represent Iran's ambition to develop nuclear weapons, a move that Israel finds unacceptable. Other potential targets included Iranian military bases and infrastructure crucial to its missile program. Striking these would significantly degrade Iran's ability to launch further attacks. However, Israel's response was not expected to be limited to conventional military targets. Some experts believed that Israel might target key figures in Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. This strategy, while risky, could significantly disrupt Iran's decision-making and military operations. The world held its breath, knowing that any retaliation, no matter how measured, carried the risk of sparking a wider war. Section 4. Iran's countermoves, a complex web of proxies and responses. As Israel prepared its response, Iran was not expected to remain passive. Iran had several options at its disposal, each with its own set of risks and rewards. One possibility was further missile attacks on Israel. This time, Iran could target strategic infrastructure such as power grids or water treatment plants, aiming to cripple Israel's ability to function. Another avenue for Iran was to activate its network of proxies in the region, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. These groups, armed and funded by Iran, could launch attacks on Israel from their respective territories, opening a multi-front conflict. Such a scenario would put immense pressure on Israel and complicate its response. Iran could also choose to target US interests in the region. Attacks on US military bases or diplomatic facilities would signify a major escalation and draw the United States deeper into the conflict. This high-stakes gamble could have unpredictable consequences, potentially igniting a larger regional war. Each potential response carried the risk of miscalculation and unintended escalation, adding to the global anxiety. Section 5. The Global Chessboard, assessing the risk of a wider conflict. The escalating tensions between Iran and Israel had ripple effects across the globe. The possibility of a wider conflict, one that could draw in major powers like Russia and China, was a growing concern. Russia, with its close ties to Iran, could provide military support or intelligence sharing, tilting the balance of power in the region. China, with its growing economic interests in the Middle East, might find itself caught in the crossfire. While unlikely to engage militarily, China could provide economic aid to Iran, helping it withstand sanctions and maintain its war effort. The involvement of such major players raised the stakes exponentially, turning a regional conflict into a potential global crisis. The international community recognized the gravity of the situation. Diplomatic efforts were underway to de-escalate the situation. The United Nations Security Council held emergency meetings to address the crisis. European nations, along with Russia and China, urged both sides to exercise restraint and seek a peaceful resolution. The world was a powder keg, and everyone was desperately searching for the right fuse to defuse the tension. Section 6. Averting disaster. The urgent need for diplomacy and de-escalation. The recent events in the Middle East served as a stark reminder of the volatility of the region and the fragility of peace. The cycle of violence between Iran and Israel, fueled by historical grievances and mistrust, threatened to spiral out of control, dragging the world into a conflict that no one wanted. The only path forward lay in diplomacy and de-escalation. Both sides needed to recognize that a military solution was not viable. Continued aggression would only lead to more suffering and instability, not just for Israelis and Iranians, but for the entire world. The international community had a crucial role to play. Mediation efforts, led by neutral parties, were essential to bring both sides to the negotiating table. Dialogue, however difficult, was the only way to address the underlying issues fueling the conflict. These issues included Iran's nuclear ambitions, its support for proxy groups, and Israel's security concerns. A lasting solution required compromise and a willingness to address each other's legitimate concerns. The world watched and waited, hoping that reason would prevail over rhetoric and that diplomacy would triumph over destruction. The future, not just of the Middle East, but of the world, hung in the balance.